Hi, everyone, and welcome to Everybody Has a Podcast, and this is mine. This podcast today features my friend Pam, who runs a show called Café con Pam, and she is a seasoned veteran in the podcast space. So that's why I've invited her to come in today. But she's also doing something that's so unique and intriguing, and I want her to be able to talk about it, and I want to get some more of the backstory about how you came up with this concept, why storytelling is so important, why making sure memories are captured. Welcome, Cafe Con Pam. Pam, welcome to the set.
Thank you, Andy. I'm excited to be here.
I'm so glad to have you here because I practically had to tell you nothing in order to start. You've done combined over 600 shows now?
Over 600. I just recorded podcast episode 437, and then there's like 50-ish YouTube videos and 100 and something like that written interviews.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what year did you start all of this, like
2015.
as a project? When did it start?
Well, it all started, it started lingering in my head kind of like 2014. I was traveling for work and I was listening to podcasts. So 2013, 2014. And I got tired of the pale male and stale. You know, it was just like a lot of men. And I kept waiting for somebody to interview people like me, to interview the immigrants, to interview the stories that were not the regular stories that I was hearing all the time. And it took 2 years and nobody did. And so one day I woke up and I put a microphone, like I got this urge to cut out a microphone and put it on my vision board. And 2 weeks later, I started Café con Pam.
So how did you come up with the name?
I was talking to, so it's really funny because I put the microphone and I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to do, I didn't know I could do a podcast because the podcasts that I would listen to, they were huge. And so I was like, maybe I can just interview people. And I don't have a background in media, you know, a marketer, like, no. And so I was just in my head. I went to dinner with a friend of mine who's a music producer, Henry. And he came to San Diego. He lives in LA. And during our dinner, we were talking about everything. At the end, he's like, so what's next? And I'm like, I think I'm going to do this podcasting. And he said, what do you want it to be about? And I'm like, well, I wanted to feel like a conversation. Because when I travel and I'm listening to host like interview-based podcasts, I feel like I'm in the room with them. So I want my show to be like that. I want people to feel like they're drinking a cup of coffee with me because I'm also from Mexico City. And in Mexico City, it's a thing. I mean, everywhere. But from where I'm from, it's a very thing to be like, let's go get a coffee. And like, it doesn't matter. It's 10 o'clock at night and we go get coffee. So coffee was a very thing. And so Henry's like, well, Café con Pam.
Wow.
Obviously.
Wow, just like that.
Yes.
But that's cool because so many things come out like that way. And I love hearing those kind of stories because, you know, it's much better than, so I had a meeting with 30 people and we took a survey of our most likely demographic you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's like it's sterile and like homogenized almost, but like, I love that he's just like, boom, Café con Pam right there.
He was like, duh, obviously.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
That's so rad. So this is 2014 kind of started this whole interest. 2016, you're like, okay, I'm about to do my first thing.
Yeah.
So how did you feel doing your very first episode?
I don't know. So, I mean, scared. Because the other thing, during that meeting with Henry, during that dinner, I said, I guess this is what I want to do. The one thing I don't know how to do is edit. So I bought a mic from a retired rapper from Craigslist, and it was the worst mic you can ever have because it was just like the opposite of what you want for podcasting. And I was like, you know, I have the mic. I got my voice. I have the idea. We have a name now, but I don't know how to edit sound. And he looked at me and he was like, do you remember what do you know what I do? Like, he's a music producer. And so he volunteered himself and he was like, I'll edit your episodes. Obviously, you have to pay me because he's a businessman. And actually, the song, Café con Pam song, is his original song that he licensed me.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
So I didn't answer your question. I was scared, but I did it.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
So, okay, I don't want to like just fast forward, but I want to go back to like when this started becoming routine for you. Like how important was it for your like thought preparation, your emotional preparation, like being well rested? I'm asking these because again, you're like very seasoned in doing this. You've done this for many years. You've done hundreds of episodes. We've crossed those same thresholds ourselves now here in our space, in a like a tight period, and so for us, it's kind of forced our hand a little more into preparedness because it's what we do. But at the same time, there are people that do this at a pro level, and they're always prepared. I noticed they're like thinking ahead. They're strategic as much as they are able to shoot from the hip a little bit in the moment. So what was that like for you early on when you were like, okay, I need to actually start like getting myself ready to do the show?
I didn't know how to do it. I had no schooling. And so because of my idea was, let's have a conversation over coffee, I started with like, tell me your story. And that worked. But then it got in my head and I'm like, wait. So I started researching, how do people interview? And so then, I read the books and I forget the names right now, but like all the people, and they're like, you have to prepare yourself. You have to research your guests. You have to have your questions ready. And I started following kind of like the in a way, the journalism blueprint of send the questions ahead of time. And so a friend of mine he's one of my best friends, but he worked in radio for a long time. He called me and he was like, you need to stop because you sound monotone. That's not you. You're not a TV host. Like, this is like, what are you doing? Like this, no. And I just did like 2 episodes that way. And I was like, really? Well, I'm trying to follow the rules. And he's like, you make your own rules. Like, this is a podcast. You don't have advertisers telling you what to do or what not to. Like, just do whatever. And so it was a learning process in the beginning, from like, I'm just going to loosey-goosey do it, to very like linear, to now I do like a lot of research on my guests, but I kind of formulate the questions. Yesterday, for example, I interviewed Lachi, who's a award-winning musician. She is a disability advocate. She's blind. And so I had to do a lot of research of what happened to her, all of the history, her previous interviews, her music, her TED Talk, like a ton. And that just, now what I do and how I approach it is I have context on the guest. And so that allows me to then ask better questions and still be curious without being so constricted.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever find yourself in a situation where you weren't sure what to do with the guest? Like either because a topic came up or something happened, you're like, oh no, what do I do? Now what do I do?
I did. There's only been one interview that hasn't been released. And it's that one. Because the guest kept pitching her business. Like every question was like,
oh wow.
Well, and this is how people can work with me. Like, I would be like, so tell me how, like, I don't know, how do you have your coffee?
Tell me about your pets. Well, my business.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
And so this was kind of like a few years ago. So I had already had enough interviews behind me to be able to like shift it and be like, we're going to talk about your business later. And I'm really curious about, how do you prepare your coffee, for example? And she'd be like, well, when I'm on my way to my meetings with my clients, and I'm just like, there's just no content here. Like, I'm trying to help you. And so we finished the interview, and then because everything I do it for the audience. And so I had to ask myself, is this something that will serve someone? And it wasn't, because it was just a pitch. Mm-hmm. And so that's unfortunate, but we couldn't release the episode.
Did you ever have a guest or a moment that like completely took you like by surprise and you're like, I cannot believe that just happened?
I interviewed Sandra Cisneros.
Okay.
And I think I was nervous because, she wrote all these books. I've seen her in person. She's a legend, the writer. And what took me by surprise is her humanity. Because when we got to the interview, I mean, I do online interviews. We're going to start doing in-person interviews, but I do online interviews. And And she lives in Guanajuato in Mexico.
Uh-huh.
And so it had to be online. And my nervousness calmed down when she had trouble logging in, you know? And
did that like normalize her? Like, oh, she has troubles logging in too. Okay, we have a similar problem.
she's just as human as me.
Yeah.
You know, and then once she was able to, like, we had her team on the, like, on one side on the phone with me, like, tell her to click here, blah, blah, blah. And so by the time she finally came on, I was just like, what's up? Like, it's fine.
What's up? You're a dope writer. I love you.
Yeah, like, I've been reading your books. You're amazing.
Oh my gosh.
And I love that you are just as human as me.
Yeah.
And so I think that was surprising. And that was an interview that, like, I thought I was going to be super nervous, but I wasn't.
You kind of like sunk into it. Like the inconvenience of the start kind of sunk you into like a comfortable kind of way, huh?
Yeah, like
that
things happen.
That happens here all the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's a guest that's frazzled. Like, oh, this, that, like they're late or they're scrambling or something happened right before they came in. I'm like, hey, let's just take a minute. Like, you know what? It's okay. Like, we're not it's not live television. It's not like someone's going to count us down and then all of a sudden it's like, you know, we're at the big game or whatever. Like, it's not like that. So
it's the beauty of podcasting.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful part of it. And it's also like the other thing too, and you kind of were referencing this, it's an open space. Like you can kind of do things the way you want and the audience can tell you if they like it or hate it. And that's fine. It's part of why I kind of love this medium. I literally got asked yesterday, what's the right way to have a podcast? And I was like, the way you'll do it. The way you'll actually do it. Yeah. Whether it's audio, faceless, or with camera or not camera, like just do it. Because there's not like a right way when all the ways seem to be working in different ways. Some people are chasing numbers. Some people are chasing promotion, like for their business. Some people are just trying to capture stories. And some people are trying to help and give advice and counsel. So in some regards, if I can help two people, that's plenty. You might not be in a situation in life where you're going to help millions, and that has to be okay too. Totally. Because prior to having your show, if you weren't already helping millions, why does all of a sudden this concept come to our mind? We should be reaching millions of people. Well, are you reaching millions of people now? No? Okay. That's okay that you're not going to reach millions of people when you launch a show too. Yeah. I think that like screws with people a little bit.
I mean, it's the romanticizing of and the popularity that podcasting has like gathered, but it's a really cool, intimate medium. Like, I think about it every time I record, and I'm like, people are choosing to listen to me. It's not like they're scrolling and they just happen to come across my content. It's like they're deliberately saying, oh, today's my day of Café con Pam. Let me just clean the house. Or let me just, like, listen to her on my way to work. That to me is the most amazing thing, and I don't take it for granted. And so when it comes to thinking about the numbers and, like, the chasing of the things, I did it, like, for a minute when I was like way back when, but now I'm like, I just want people to message me and be like, this story moved me so much. And I get those messages and I respond every time. And it's like, to me, that's a better impact and legacy than like I have the millions of downloads.
Yeah. The engagement part. Yeah. I think that's important. So I want to ask you a question about your evolution as a host. Did you ever feel, or did you ever have imposter syndrome? Where you were like, oh, I don't belong here. Because I have this, people tell me this all the time about their own hesitation about starting a show or about, well, I don't know if I have anything important to say. And I'm like, you know, and so just to kind of paint a picture, these are people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and even sometimes 60s. I'm like, you've lived a life that's worth telling, sharing, and people inquiring about. And but yet there's still this hesitation because they just feel like imposters.
I mean, imposter syndrome is like imposter phenomenon, as the therapists call them now. I think it's a construct that society has given to us. And so I think there's always a whisper that I've had that says you don't have enough skills. Like you're not a journalist. You're not like, you have zero background in media. You've never worked in anything media related. And I think I choose to lead with that fear ahead because it's opened so many really cool doors. Like I remember we were sitting down and I was having a meeting with McDonald's because they wanted to sponsor. And this is, I had with my podcast friends a long time ago, we started a podcast network. It's no longer in business, but for that, they wanted to do something together. And so we're sitting with the executives of McDonald's. I have lived experience with a different kind of deal with like big people, but not to sponsor something that I'm creating. You know, it was like to sell a product for a different company.
Right. In like your corporate
life.
Corporate life. Yeah.
But like sitting to and like selling myself was different. And it was 3 of us that walked into this meeting with like 4 or 5 people, I think, maybe 3 or 4. And they were asking questions, and like my other peers, my friends, my colleagues, my business partners, they all had background in media, and they had worked at like huge companies, and they were like, okay, we planned it, we strategized. And then they were just, I realized that we were just going in circles. Like, what can we do? And what can we, and I was like, okay, when can we get this deal done? And so I remember Linda looked at me and she was like, I don't know if that's what you ask, but they said, how about we lock a date? It just kind of like got us out of the circles that we were doing. And at the end of the meeting, we walked out and they were like, I think you're going to be our closer, because like we just wanted to say, but we couldn't say it because there was like this like, oh, what if they say no? And so long answer to a short question, but yes, the imposter is always there. And I have learned to question it and say, what are you protecting me from? And so walking to those meetings, like reaching out to sponsors, talking to like high profile guests, what is the fear trying to protect me from? And usually it's safety. And I just remind myself I'm safe. And the worst case scenario is they'll say no. So go chase the no.
So how have you been able to overcome the imposter part? Because I have my own answer, but I want to hear your answer first.
I mean, I don't know if I've overcome it. I think I just have a louder voice that says you can.
You've proceeded regardless of whether it's like super present or it's kind of in the background. So how do you manage it then?
I choose possibility. So the imposter will keep me small. And for a long time, I did listen to it. For a long time, I often say I'm a recovering procrastinator. And so my imposter, like I see it like a voice, would come in and say, you're not adequate enough. Just don't do it. And so I often tell the story where I almost failed college because I was procrastinating on things. And that's when I found out I had ADHD. When one of my teachers, we were going through a critique for a project, and she said, if you had put the time and effort that I gave you to work on this, it would be an award-winning project. But because you did it last night, it's not happening. Why are you sabotaging yourself? Like, you could be brilliant, but you're choosing not to. And so that moment in my 20s, my early 20s, truly like gave me a lot of perspective on the choices that I have. And when the imposter comes, then I remind myself I have a choice to listen to that whisper that says you're not enough, or to listen to the one that says it could be possible. What if?
That's awesome. I have a procrastination joke for you to take onto your show. Can I tell it to you?
Please.
You just need to remind your audience, if they're a procrastinator like you, someday you'll get around to quitting. That's somehow work that in there. Yeah.
Smart, yes.
So the reason I said that is because I have a similar story from college, where at the end of the semester, where I had a speech class, you had to teach the class something, and it had to be like an educational, informative, persuasive speech.
Okay.
And my entire speech was on the downside of procrastinating.
Oh, wow.
And I wrote the speech on the way to class on purpose. And I delivered it.
Comical.
And the professor sat in the back like,
well done.
But I actually brought to the speech a couple of solutions for how you can cure procrastination in your life, like planning, scheduling a planner. This is way back in the day when you had like a physical planner, like the Franklin Covey kind of thing. You wrote stuff in. It was really funny, but
not the Franklin Covey.
Hey, you use what works.
I use like analog planners.
Use what works, right? I write down stuff. I've been doing it since 2016. I've been like journaling, writing stuff down, like.
From my journal.
But yeah, I did a whole speech about procrastination and used the speech as the example for why you shouldn't.
Procrastinate.
And the teacher's like, yeah, I can't, how do I give you less than an A on that?
Yes. Well done.
It's so the other kind of part of that is that I'm curious to have you talk about is, kind of having like being confident in the podcast space with the same level of confidence you have in your professional or personal space that you are comfortable in. Because sometimes people think, oh, well, there's cameras, I got to be a different person. Or, oh, I'm going to be recorded, I have to talk more clearly, or I have to be better or something. And so the context is sometimes I'm talking to business people who they've been in business for 20 years. Mm-hmm. They are successful. They own multiple franchises of the thing that they have. And they're like, oh, yeah, I don't even know what I'd say. And I'm like, say the thing that you've been in business for 20 years. Like, you already know what to say. You probably talk about it all day long, every day. Yeah. But there's like this like framework that it like kind of forces people to, oh, I got to be something different than I am. But that's not what people want in podcast land. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I think so. I grew up in Mexico City, and there I was always Pam Covarrubias. The moment I crossed the border, then I had to start checking boxes. Are you a woman? Are you Hispanic, Latina, blah, 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 blah. Are you a first gen? Are you whatever? And so that, because I think I attribute it to the way that I grew up, where my identity was not questioned. You were just Pam Covarrubias. Mm-hmm. And then I come here when I'm 19 years old with a piece of luggage and a dream. And then it's almost like the system wanted to put me in boxes. And I'm a rebel at heart. And so I utterly refuse to be put in a box. And so to your question of, like, do you need to be different? I think it's truly reminding who you are and honing yourself and standing in that power and your truth. That's where you can discover that you can't be anyone else. Like, it's just so hard for me. Like, I chipped my tooth, we were talking about it earlier. And it's so hard for me to just be like, well, that's what it is. And that's part of me now. Yeah, I'm going to get it fixed because somebody was like, you need to fix it because otherwise it's going to keep chipping and then you're going to end with like a quarter of your tooth. And like, so
new worry. Oh no.
Yeah. So for the health of the tooth, I'm going to get it fixed. And the external things and the external, how I show up, it needs to be a reflection of truly who I am. And I think when there's this doubt of I don't know what to say, or I need to show up different, or I need to like be on, that is not like, who are you doing that for? And so like the only way that I can be is to be myself. And it's almost like exhausting to try to be someone else.
That's so good. Like just that one point you made, like, who are you doing that for? Mm-hmm. Like, who is that for? Who's that serving? Mm-hmm. It's not serving you. It's not serving the person. It's serving it could be serving nobody very quickly. Yeah. And I think the thing and this is just my perspective, is like, the thing that saddens me is that these are successful people from the outside looking in. Like, oh gosh, their life is together. They get to go take vacations. They own a business. They have freedom of time, right? Like semi-unrestricted from their responsibilities, because they built a life that looks that way. But then for them to also like be like, I don't know what I would say. It devastates me. I'm like, oh my gosh, you've done the saying for so long. And just for the proposal to come and talk to me would be the thing that would stop you. Like, that's crazy. It makes me sad, Totally. I think I do a lot of inner child work in my business. And I'm going to start sounding like that, I guess. No, but I do. Tell me about your coffee. Well, in my business, my coffee. No, talk about the inner child work. Yeah.
So inner child, when I see like, going back to the imposter, going back to the self-doubt, going back to I don't know what to say, I invite people to think back at what would you say to the inner younger version of you? So if you own a business for 25 years, what would you say to 25 years ago you that you know now so that they can do it better? And so there's this element of there is an internal part that is there's maybe shame, and there's maybe some thing that may have happened that have quieted their voice in some way. And so working through that is what will set them free.
So I would like for you to share kind of the vision for what your show is doing now. You mentioned that you're going to do more in person. So talk about what is what's motivating you first. Well, I guess before I get ahead of myself, what's motivating you to capture people's stories and let them really share in this like period of time in existence? Why is that so important to you?
Because right now we live in times where stories are being told in a very different way than what they truly are. And so I think what started as a selfish project of I want to hear stories of people like me. I've tried quitting Café con Pam like 4 times, and people have messaged me, and it's one of those like when I'm like, you know what, this is just a lot of work. This is I'm tired. I get a message from a listener like, hey, I just want you to know, and like they send me letters like, I just want you to know that I listened to this episode and I've been working through blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, I can't. This is no longer my project. It's our project. And so that project that started as like, I want to hear stories of people like me, now has evolved into how are we leaving history so others can then look back at the years and say, what was going on from the mouths of the people that were going through it, instead of how the media or whoever is portraying it. To me, that's important because, I mean, history, like books are being erased. Stories are not being told. There's so many, and there's incredible scholars that are doing a lot of work on the stories that have been erased. And so I've actually interviewed a couple, Dr. Nicolas Canelos. He has a whole book of firsts. And we talked about it, how he did a ton of research to find the first Latina astronaut and the first, like all of these firsts that just kind of like happened, you know? And so to me, I think about what is my contribution to the world and how am I leaving it better? And this is why I think sharing our stories is important, because it allows us to share it from our perspective, from our voices, and nobody can question that.
Yeah, you went through it. Mm-hmm. My wife and I have started talking about things that happened earlier in our life together when our girls were really young, and that when they're 2 and 4 and 6, like they don't know what's happening around them at the time other than like what's happening in the house.
Yes.
But you know, during some of that time, that was some of those ages of their life overlaps with the financial collapse of 2008 and 9, and we had a front row seat to it, like lost everything because of it. And so we've kind of doubled back, and we've been going and telling some of those stories, so that when now that they're old enough to understand the context of those things, to understand like what life was like beyond what you knew at that age only.
Yeah.
And for some reason, like earlier this year, it was like this epiphany, like we need to do this. We need to reshare our recollection of what we went through. And that way, when our girls want to come back and listen to like what was life like when mom and dad were in their late 20s, what was life when they were in their 30s and all that. So we started doing that. And I 100% with you on that. Like, and there's things that, you know, that just happened to us because of our own family, and there's stuff that was happening to people in such a wide swath of the economy and in our neighborhoods and all sorts of things because of the way that collapse. It's that specific example, how that just enveloped so much of our economy. Yeah. So I truly have appreciated that moment, and I'm hoping that it will give them some insight too when they're older and you know, look back at that and want to hear from her voice. I also have to admit, part of that is I found myself as an older adult wishing, man, I wish I could go back and ask my grandpa that question, yes, or my grandma that question. I'm like, but yes, they're not here. So, okay, well then,
and you can connect,
right? But if I could like go and sit and have coffee with him today, and he was an engineer, and I'd ask him about this and that, yes, I would do that. And so I think about that too, and I'm like, well, I guess I want our voices to be around for when we're not here. They can listen to how we might answer questions too. So, has anyone ever said anything to you on a show, like a piece of advice or like this, like opinion or perspective that really just made you go, oh, I've never thought that before. Then you like it like you carried it with you still to this day?
I'm sure.
That might be a loaded question. I don't mean that to catch you off guard. It's just
No.
sometimes people say something is so profound and you're like, oh my gosh, I've never heard that before.
I don't know if it was like a specific thing, but I think an interview that, like, I don't want to say one of my favorites.
Well, it's hard when
like,
you've done nearly 600.
Yeah. And people were like, who's your favorite guest? And I'm like, I wouldn't ask you who's your favorite kid, right? Like, it's not how it works.
I mean, you can. I'm going to say all of them.
Right. Right. We all know. So, but an interview that I really enjoyed was with Richard Montañez.
Okay.
Who invented hot Cheetos.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
you watched the documentary, right?
Of course.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
I interviewed him before. So.
Oh, no way. It was before that?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
And I had so I knew about him, and then I met him at a conference. And I knew who he was. And so I asked him to take a picture with me in like 2018. And so I have to look back to see when his interview was, probably 2022, something like that. And so when we took that picture, I was like, Mr. Montañez, one day I have a podcast and one day I would love to interview you. And he was like, of course. Like, but it's a conference and like everyone like has things to do and people to see and places to be. And he was like, yeah, of course, we'll make it happen. Never, like, didn't exchange information, nothing. And then, like, that's the power of like putting things out. And I don't want to say manifestation, but whatever. And so a few years later, his team reached out and they were like, hey, do you want to have Richard Montañez on your show? And I was like, do I? I've been waiting for this moment my whole life. And so the profound things that he said, I think that moved me were his belief in himself. And the fact that he when he told me, I mean, you've seen it in the movie, but when Enrico, when the Pepsi CEO said, you have to act like an owner, he believed it in his heart. And he would go home and switch from his general outfit and put a suit and be like, I am the owner, And so that was just like a reminder of, if you don't do it for yourself, nobody else will. Like, nobody's coming to save you. Like, it's so easy to talk about how things are broken and the system's not for us and like whatever. And what are the choices that you can do when your passion is such that you just focus on that?
Yeah, it's that push pull, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, that for some people they don't have the same experience as others, and then okay, how can I still make a successful path for myself within the system that I live in? I'd love. So I was looking it up while you were talking about it. 2023, that film came out, flaming hot. Man, I loved watching that movie. It's a feel good story,
Still good movie.
right? I mean, he's still like overcoming obstacles of business life at the time, but just the way that it was trying to solve a problem that he noticed. There's such a lesson in that. Like, there's this gap between what I do over here and the work and the product that this company makes and the thing that my people enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
How do we close that gap? And then boom, there's this like whole. I mean, Flamin' Hot is like its own. It's
Whole
like its
brand.
own cult following.
Yes, it's a whole thing. It's the whole thing. And one of the things that my brother and I watched it, and to this day, so his wife is Judy. And so I mean, very feminist in me. I'm like, Richard did it because Judy pushed him. Like, Judy was right there with him and she didn't let him give up. Just like Jose Hernandez, the astronaut. Have you seen that one?
Mm-mm.
So
Mm-mm.
I forget the name of that movie, but also Jose Hernandez, I haven't had him on the show yet, but he applied to NASA like 11 times.
Really?
Yeah. That's your weekend movie. That's your homework.
Oh, this is my weekend. Oh, yes. I'm looking right now.
Yeah.
A Million Miles Away.
Is that
that's the name? Okay, yeah. A Million Miles Away.
I haven't had Jose on the show yet. But with Richard, Judy, I mean, you can see it in the movie, like she's right there with him. And they even did a cameo in the movie. Did you catch that?
Yeah.
And so one of the things that to this day, like my brother is still single, and I'm like, you have to find your Judy.
Yeah. No, there's something super powerful in that. There's
So
super powerful in that. And, man, there's probably a whole show on that just on itself. But I guess I should just leave that. We'll leave that for another day, Pam.
pin.
Yeah, that's its own thing. Yeah, because sometimes the idea needs that. And I know there are plenty of ideas that have died for lack of a Judy.
Yes.
Right?
That.
And oh gosh, now I want to do a whole different thing. I'm not going to detour because I still have other questions I want to ask you, but like, oh my gosh, I'm sure we could like unpack that for another 4 hours.
Yeah.
Okay. So when, you're this far in, you're about to have your 10th year of being in this like landscape next year in 2026, right? Wow. 10 years. What is still motivating you to this day? Because most people quit after 10 shows. Not everyone makes it to 10 years. What's still motivating Pam?
The possibilities. I think every year I look back. I do winter is I work with the seasons of the year instead of like the months, because that's the Gregorian calendar sucks. And so my body, and I'm a woman, so women's bodies like are much more connected to men's bodies but we're like totally attuned to the seasons and stuff. And so winter is a time for me to reflect and to look back. And so every winter I look back at what happened, what didn't happen, and what's possible. And so what keeps me going is the possibility to say, all right, if we were able to do this, then if I stop now, then I'm going to regret the most about not seeing what could be possible. And so I lean on this side of possibility always.
Yeah, and you're not using this word, but it seems like this curiosity too.
Always.
Where, yeah, because it's like, the possibility of what could be. There's that, like, who talks about, I was just saying the other day, I was talking about like Theo Vaughn, like love him or hate him, right? But there's like this curious part of him where he's just like, oh, really? Like, that's interesting. Like that inquisitive, what?
Inquisitiveness.
Yes. I totally just blanked on, hey, how do you say that word? Inquisitive. Yeah. When people are inquisitive, I'm fascinated by that, because it's like, it's not out of a place of being unsettled or dissatisfied. It's just, there's this natural curiosity.
Yeah. One of my core values is wonder forward.
And
so I am always allowing myself to wonder forward.
That's so good. Wonder forward. I don't think I've heard someone put it that way before. Where did you come up with that?
When I worked on my core values.
But you hadn't heard that somewhere else? You just were like, oh, this is going to be the way I define this, like.
Yeah, so the core value is curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, I'm very marketer rooted in storytelling. And so I'm like, I'm not just going to say curiosity. What does curiosity mean to me? It's to lean into the side of possibility, is to look ahead, is to wonder forward.
That's so good. Wonder forward. Okay, yeah. Word, phrase of the month, I think, or the season, not the month. No, the season. Season went wonder forward. Okay. Do you ever think about your own legacy?
Not from the lens of, because I'm child free by choice, and so I think a lot of times legacy is connected to what are you leaving to your kids, and I think my kids are the kids of the world, and my niece and nephew, and I think if I focus too much on the legacy and what I'm leaving behind, I'm not present, and so I'm just choosing to do the best I can this morning in this moment right now, because it's as far as I can go.
Well, I think you've kind of made reference too, where like, when you want to punch out and quit, someone sends you that message. So like, that's why I came to that legacy question. I like jumped ahead. I was like, I'm gonna ask this legacy question, because you're kind of referencing that's like in there. It's like in the motor. Like,
yeah.
I know you want to leave something with people. That's why you haven't quit.
Yeah.
So even if it's not your own,
I'm too far to quit. Like that would be.
Yeah, you could be 4,000 episodes in and stay that too. But like, there's still I'm hinting at or trying to make a point about is that you're very aware that what you're doing is still impacting people if you don't know them. That is legacy. Legacy doesn't just mean, oh, my own kids or my own family. It's like the legacy you're leaving, like, have you been impacted by people who you've never met?
Totally.
Yeah. Okay. So there's people that are following you that you're never going to meet. They're never going to meet you, and you're going to have like a fingerprint on their life somehow. And I think that's awesome. It's one of the reasons why I want to do this entire series of Everyone Has a Podcast, because I mean, it's kind of cliche and funny because like there's so many podcasts, but at the same time, there's
it's like your speech, your procrastination speech.
Stories, the procrastination speech, right? Yeah. Duh. Everyone has one. But I think it's relevant because so much history dies with people, and so many stories die with people. And if you haven't written it down, you haven't recorded yourself retelling the story, or you don't have actual footage of you being at the thing, doing the thing, saying the thing, being a part of it, then it just dies with you. And there's so many untold stories and so many untold like secrets, people, the secret style people. And I just want more people to adopt confidence in themselves that they demonstrate in other parts of their life in the same space too.
Yeah, and we need different stories.
Yeah.
Like the world would be so boring if we only have one perspective. And so I think that's why it's so important to hear like from so many different people, from different backgrounds, from different perspectives and contexts and upbringings. And it made me think, as you were sharing that, it made me think of my grandfather. So he was deaf. And so it's really interesting in therapy that my therapist was like, oh, so your grandpa was deaf and you have a podcast and you use your voice. You literally use your voice for a living. How do you feel that if he was alive, he would never be able to hear you? And I was like, oh, like he would never be able to like see, like hear all the things that you've shared because it's all through sound. And then I was like, oh my gosh, why are you pushing that button? And
I thought we were going to talk about something else today.
like, I didn't come for it. And so, but it's really interesting how like we choose different patterns based on our background, because I didn't do like consciously. I didn't say I'm going to use my voice to transform the world. Yeah. And I always had to use my voice to talk to my grandfather and like really loudly because he couldn't hear me. Yeah. And so it was like, I don't know, an interesting. I'm still processing it, so I don't know.
Well, Pam, we have a solution for you here in the studio with video and closed captions.
Right. Closed captions.
Business. My business. No, but it's it's funny, not funny. What's interesting about you saying that is I never like thought of it that way. But one of the benefits of actually having the platform the way that we do this is so that everyone can enjoy stories and watching things. I just did a Spanish translation into English last week for a show.
Wow.
Because it's for two audiences. And it's about cross-border law enforcement, like the United States and down in Mexico, and similarities and differences. And it was conducted in Spanish, but the person who did it does academy training here and is bilingual. And it's one of the things that's kind of evolving in this whole space is we need more bilingual shows, specifically because of San Diego's proximity to Mexico and the cross-border relationships, familial, professional, and all that. And I don't know how we can encourage more people to do that, but that's like the thing for 26 is more bilingual podcasts so people can have someone who speaks a language, sounds like them, and it can really be relatable to them. I think it's a huge open space for content creators in this year.
Cultural competency is important.
Yeah. All right, I got a couple rapid fires. Is that okay? So we can close out because I know you got a very important a place to be next. So what keeps you up at night?
You said rapid fires. I don't know.
The dog next door, the barking at 2 a.m.
Right, like the birds, the owl. I have an owl outside my house.
You do?
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's cool.
I feel like that's my grandfather.
Caitlin loves owls. Did you say owl?
Owl, yeah.
Yeah, she draws owls already there. Oh, yeah, she's great at it.
Nice.
I'll text you a picture later.
Yes, how fun. What keeps me up at night is how could we live in a world where we are free?
What's making you feel unfree?
Capitalism.
Talk about that.
Well, if I didn't have to pay rent, I would be frolicking all day. I would be talking on a microphone all day without any care in the world. And it's not like that. I mean, unless I choose to go offline, but there's no way. Like, we live in the empire. We have to, like, follow the rules in a way.
Right. Succeed in the system you're in. Right. Yeah, I get you. So who's someone you have not yet met that you would absolutely die if you met?
Dead or alive?
Your choice. Do you have one for both? Do you have a both?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jose Hernandez is one.
Dead or alive, who would you want to meet? Yeah.
Yeah, Jose Hernandez, the astronaut, he's one. I think there's a lot of really cool people that, I mean, I have a list. I have a wish list. I started with a wish list of 100 people, and that one's complete. It's kind of wild to think about.
Wow.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Except for Jose Hernandez. That's why he...
like 101.
Yes. Dead. Ooh, Emily Dickens.
Oh, really? Tell me about that. I've asked this question hundreds of times. I've never heard Emily Dickens. Tell me about that.
I mean, how could you not?
Well, because okay. So
How
back
could
to the
you
whole
not
wide
to learn about
variety of people. I hear things like Tupac,
I mean,
I hear
there's so many
things
people.
like,
Selena would be great, but
Yeah?
Emily Dickens, I think I would love to have an evening, like me travel back in time. I wouldn't bring her here. I think it would be it would be too much.
It's a shock.
Yeah, I would be like, what is this? However, I think if she was to live in this time, her queerness would be more accepted. Back then it wasn't. And so, like, I would love to go back and just live a day in the life with Emily Dickens. Like,
Wow.
her writing and her love for her lover and her love of life and the way that her brain saw the world. It's just so powerful.
So if I put you in the center of an auditorium or an arena and there's 100,000 people there and they're all watching you and you get to thank somebody, who would you thank and what would you say?
I mean, probably my mom for bringing me to the world. Yeah. I think, I don't know if I have one person to thank. I think I've had a lot of sponsors that have seen things in me before I even could. I've had, family members. I would thank the people that crushed me.
Talk about that.
Because I think, like, one of my biggest bullies has been one of my aunts. And, I've processed this in therapy, like, forever. And her bullying has made me so confident in me, because if I hadn't gone through all the BS that she put me through, then I wouldn't have found my truth. And so I think, like, yes, I'm grateful for the people that helped me and for the people that didn't. Also, for all the no's, for all the rejections, thank you so much.
You are the first person to have answered the question that way. I asked this question to everybody I interview, and you're the first person who said, like, basically my haters.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so good. And I think there's a lesson in that too, where, there's something to be learned from the criticism and from the stomping that you can take privately or publicly, and then using that for forming who you are and what you're doing and why you're doing it. Because I personally believe those things cannot stand in the way of you saying or doing the next thing that's going to help the person looking for it.
Totally.
And so whatever people hate online or say online, this and that, it's like, that's not going to be more important than me getting back on the mic in the studio on the camera and saying the thing I got to say for the person that's actually going to help. If it ain't for you, that's great. That's fine. It's not for you. Then it's not for you. And you need to be okay with that too.
Yeah, it happened to me. Can I share a story?
Yeah, go for it. I want to make sure I honor your time though, because I know you got to.
Oh, good.
You have important people to go see.
I have to go, but early, I had probably 5 episodes. I reached out to other fellow podcasters, Latino podcasters, because I was like, these are my people. Let's, like, be friends. And there were 4.
Man, I already know where you're going. Oh my God. Okay.
There were 4 of us. 4. I was the 5th one. And I reached out to one. They're based in LA. And I was like, hey, I would love to do a crossover episode. I'm just starting out. You're a little bit, a few steps ahead. I would love to do this collab. 2 hosts. One of them is my best friend now. And so they responded. They were like, yeah, come over. We have a studio. I had just quit my corporate job. No plan, no savings, just like, we'll see. So I now tell people, do as I say, not as I did. And so I literally had enough money to fill my gas tank, to get to LA and back. That's it.
Wow.
And so I thought this podcast has like made it, they are like popular. They're getting the engagement, whatever. They're like doing this crossover is going to like put me on the map. I was really excited. Made it to LA. We met at a restaurant. Like they were like, let's have a beer before to kind of like just talk about what we're going to talk about. We finished the appetizer and the drink. And I was like, okay, so are we going to go record? And she was like, no. And the co-host, like, who's my friend now, literally did that. And
Wait,
he was like,
what?
Yeah. And she was like, no, we're not. I think we'll just get back to you.
Whoa.
I drove back crying.
What?
Yes. And I stopped sharing episodes. And then that guy who's now one of my best friends, he called me and he said, you can't let one person.
Pam, that is crazy.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
You can't let one person. Go ahead. Make a point. I'm sorry.
Wild.
That's crazy.
I know. Like, yes.
Oh, man, like the gall. Okay.
Yes.
Ow.
Yes. And so I stopped producing. I was like,
no, Pam.
if they couldn't see me, like, how could I? And so I want to share the story because I think like the way that I show up now, that's not who I was. I let her words be like, tell me you're not enough. I believed it. And so 2 weeks later, he calls me and he's like, you're not going to let her do this to you because there's thousands of people that are waiting for your story to be told and you're letting one person stop you from sharing your story. And so it's like, you're right. So I got myself together and I went back into why I do what I do and forgot about what she said and plugged my microphone again and started sharing. So I thank her for that because I didn't need her to save me and she chose not to. And so I'm still here and
Yeah, but dang, that's a heavy rejection. That's a heavy reject.
yeah.
It sounds the way you're telling the story. It sounds like very unapologetically and unashamed as well.
Oh yeah, no.
Holy cow!
Like literally, we were sitting at the table. She was like, "No."
Oh wow. Well, I'm glad you didn't treat me that way when I invited you to come.
No.
Hey, you want to come to a show? No, just no. I don't think I want to.
Well, I think that moment like taught me so much.
Yeah.
There's so many lessons because I would never treat people that way.
I mean and that's that contorted part of like this experience, right? It's like you have crappy stuff that happens and you're like, I'm never going to treat someone that way. I don't want anyone to feel the way that I feel in this moment right now or the way I was treated. But then it becomes this like superpower strength where you're like, I want people to feel welcome and I'm inviting and I'm going to listen to what they have to say. So I love that. And I'm reiterating that because I want people who are hesitating to start shows still to remember that. Like that is going to happen maybe in a different way than what you're describing. I hope it's not as tragic. Like that's a hard reject. My God. But yeah, no, just remember that. Like, and again, a word to all the people who have been in business 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. You've been told no by somebody in a sales process or something.
Hundreds of times.
At some point, you've been told no by email, text, phone, and to your face. So it's okay that you're told no in this space as well, too. It's not going to kill you. And what you are doing is worth talking about. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad you spoke up. We would have like done rapid fire and then like, not known that. That's crazy. But last thing is, please tell everyone where you want them to experience your show. Where's the best way for them to listen and watch your show?
cafeconpam.com. It's the easiest. cafeconpam.com. On socials at Café Con Pam Podcast. And on YouTube, Café Con Pam. Like, everything's Café Con Pam.
Yeah.
Easy peasy.
Perfect. The branding is excellent. Well, I'll make sure that I put all that in the description box of this video as well. Pam, thank you so much for coming to this video today. I really enjoyed our conversation. I really like what you're doing, especially when it comes to the storytelling and things that need to be captured before they die off with the people that are possessing those stories. So thank you so much for putting that effort together. I'm going to say in advance, I'm proud of you for 10 years.
Thank you.
Congratulations on that milestone. How many shows do you think you're going to do in the year 26? Like you got to past 600 in 10 years. That's like a 60-year clip.
Yeah.
On average.
So we do about 52, like the 52 shows.
Dang.
We do about 25 YouTube videos and probably like 52 per hour. Yeah.
Well, now you'll have this one too.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being a guest with me today. How do you like being a guest, by the way? You're always hosting. How is it like being a guest?
That was weird because I'm like, I want to ask you questions. So I have to like stop myself.
Yeah. We'll have to figure out, we'll switch seats next time and we'll do a reverse everybody has a podcast or something like that. You can come host the show one time.
Perfect.
Sound good?
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for watching. Everyone has a podcast and you can too. This has been Andy Cruz here at Cruz Productions and my guest today, Pam Covarrubias. Thank you so much for being on the show today. Thank you all for watching. And we hope that you will share this with someone who needs to hear Pam's story. And if you are new to Pam and you have never checked out her show, absolutely go click in the description box and check out her site, all of her socials, and the handles for her shows on all the podcast platforms. You are going to find something that encourages you and inspires you to tell your story as well. Pam, thanks again for being on the show.
Thank you.
Everyone watching, we'll see you again next time. Thanks.